Money Vikings, Money Viking G, welcome back to the show. I got a good one for you today. I want to talk about some of the highlights and sort of the where we stand in terms of Bitcoin and crypto as we head into 2026, well launched into 2026. And a little bit of a recap of what happened at the end of the year with the big thud and sort of crypto and Bitcoin falling flat on its face or flat on its ass. So Bitcoin 2026, let's get into it. What happened? So last year, fear took hold. That's really the bottom line. Fear takes hold. When fear takes hold with a market, you are going to have so much selling because people get gripped with fear and they're not making what they thought they would make. Things, Bitcoin and other things got ahead of their skis, I would say. Because what happens is there's this sense that, okay, going to the moon, going to $1 million a coin. And so people start leveraging heavily. A lot of institutions, possibly individuals, et cetera, start leveraging. So they start borrowing massive amounts of money to buy more. And that puts them in a very risky position. And when the cards start to fall on that one, you get massive amounts of fear. And then everyone, you just have massive selling. So, you had Bitcoin run up to about 125, 126,000 a coin at the top, and now trades around 90, low 90s. But there is this sort of bumping sideways thing that's going on, it appears, in the around 90. So you have a very strong support around, I think, in the high 80s, 87, 88, very strong support. But then there seems to be this ceiling. It bumps up around 94, 95, and those who are trying to recoup losses or get out start selling again to recoup or something. So there's this kind of, thing around 90 where it's going sideways. Not bad. It's fine. Nothing's good or bad. It's all neutral. It all is stoic and is what it is. But that's basically what happened. Now, I am admittedly more of a Bitcoin guy than a crypto guy. I can understand some utility of other tokens, and that's all fine. That's good stuff. And decentralized finance and getting away from banks and all the fees they've been charging and all the interest and all the money they've been taking from people for years. So I understand all that. But there's a couple things I think that bode well for Bitcoin. I'll be cautiously optimistic for 2026. I would say that it looks like interest rates are going to probably fall. I believe we're going to get a new Fed chair. So you'll see interest rates come down. And, that's going to pump so much more money into the system, which again is going to raise asset prices and put more money into things like Bitcoin and raise the price of Bitcoin. And unfortunately, as part of that, you'll probably see inflation, kind of continue on. So you'll have inflation continuing on. The other, existential thing that just cannot be brought under control or cannot be brought to heel, it appears, is the national debt. So, we're in the we're in some crazy trillions of dollars in debt. There's crazy numbers out there about the amount of interest paid on the debt every month or every week or whatever, and it's like billions of dollars. So it's seriously out of control, as many people know and are aware. And again, that to me is what Bitcoin sort of pushes back against. It pushes back against high debt crisis sort of levels. It pushes back against inflation, money printing, the devaluing of the dollar and fiat currencies. And all fiat currencies, it appears over history, they tend to fall. They tend to struggle and lose their value over time as they're continued to print and there's more money supply, money put into the system, as they say. So those are just sort of highlights. You guys know I like to keep these short and sweet, 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of get right to it. But I think that's kind of the bottom line when it comes to Bitcoin in 2026. I'm not going to make any predictions. I don't really know, what is it going to do? It has a way. You have to look back. Again, I'm always big into broadening out and backing out, looking at the macro view. I remember when I started getting into Bitcoin, 2017-ish time frame, and what was it, 6,000 a coin. and a lot of people blew their mind. Oh my God, who would pay $6,000 for that? Well, imagine if you could go back in time and pick up a few of those for $6,000. You'd totally do it, because it's now easily, like I said, has nice support at 90. So you got to broaden out. You got to macro level out. You need to see the big picture and look at the big picture macro trends. So that's how I see it. That's again, for me, strategically diversified portfolios means there's going to be some sort of 10% allocation to crypto assets. They are really, in a lot of ways, becoming mainstream, institutionalized. I don't know if it's the brand new thing anymore. Really, it can feel like that at times because it's an ever evolving asset class and sort of sector. But you know what? Bitcoin Bitcoin might be 20 years old now, so Bitcoin's growing up. It's going to college. So, all right, everybody, thanks for watching. Check you on the next one.